Welcome to my talk. My name is Muyang Lu, a last year PhD student at Yale University. Today, I'm going to talk about scale sensitivity of birds' environmental niche in the Western Hemisphere. In niche modeling or SDMs, we usually take a set of points from the occurrence data, make a model, and then make predictions. Much concern has been raised on the effect of grain size on model performance in the geographic space. However, less attention has been given to how this niche volume changes with spatial grain in the environmental space. This is really important because it is related to many fundamental hypotheses, such as the range size niche breadth relationship, niche tracking, niche shifting, whether you're going to detect niche conservatism in phylogenetic analysis. It's also going to impact your climate change vulnerability assessment. We hypothesize that there are in total 3 major factors in driving this relationship: range size, environmental heterogeneity, habitat dietary niche breadth, all due to spatial averaging effect. We hypothesize that higher environmental heterogeneity should lead to higher scale sensitivity of environmental niche. This is because at finest grain, it has the largest environmental variation. We also expect larger range size lead to lower scale sensitivity of environmental niche, because when you coarsen the grain of a large range species, it's going to have more buffering around its occurrence points. We expect generalist species to behave the same as a large range species, and thus should have lower scale sensitivity of environmental niche compared to specialist species. We also expect to have unimodal or increasing spatial scaling relationship when coarsening grain began to include non-habitat of a specialized species. I have in total 1,194 species for analysis. I used the mean temperature and precipitation at breeding season for calculating niche volume. I use the generalized variance as a measure of niche volume, which allows me to partition the total niche volume into univariate variances and a correlation component, which shrinks the total niche volume by a factor of 1 minus rho square. I calculated niche volume spatial scaling relationship for each species for each partition component. I quantify the overall scale sensitivity with coefficient of variation of the scaling curve, and quantify the direction of the scaling with the slope of the scaling curve, with positive indicating an increasing relationship and negative indicating a decreasing relationship. In general, the total scale sensitivity of niche breadth is mainly driven by the sensitivity of temperature niche breadth, rather than precipitation niche breadth or the correlation component. About half of the species demonstrate a positive niche volume spatial scaling relationship, and the rest of them demonstrate a negative niche volume spatial scaling relationship. The major differences are caused by the comparison between the finest grain and the most coarse grain, which is 128 kilometer resolution in this study, which is also approximately the accuracy of most of the range maps. With respect to the hypothesis, we did find that high environmental heterogeneity lead to higher scale sensitivity of environmental niche. We also find that larger range size also lead to lower scale sensitivity of environmental niche. But for generalist species, it only has lower scale sensitivity for the temperature niche breadth component. We also find that higher environmental heterogeneity is related to is more likely to give rise to unimodal or increasing scaling relationship. So the take-home message: environmental niche characterization of small range species and species in heterogeneous environments are particularly sensitive to the choice of spatial scale. The scale sensitivity of environmental niche of birds in the Western Hemisphere is mainly driven by temperature sensitivity rather than precipitation sensitivity or the correlation component. We thus advocate more attention should be given to small range specialist species in mountainous areas when choosing the analyzed grain. And thank you, and I'd like to take questions.